Okay, cool. So I'll take a stab at it now. All right, guys. Hi. Firstly, if you are here on a Saturday evening, I'm sure you're invested to do your MBAs, and you're very much invested to take the CAT seriously, which is a fantastic, signal. Manya spoke extensively about how she had a brilliant CAT strategy and how that worked out very well for her. Mr. Sharma obviously is the best in the business, and he spoke about what you can do in the next 45 days, closing loops. I think that's a brilliant framework which all of you can use. Uh, I think what I will try to add value, how I will try to add value is I think I don't see myself as a typical student who is expected to ever crack the CAT and is expected to land into IIM Ahmedabad. To be very honest, CAT was never a part of the plan, and MBA was never a part of the plan. But down the line, I realized that if it is a part of my journey, then it will definitely make a lot of a difference. And that's why I'm here. Cool. So starting off a little bit about me. So as you can see this process flow of stocks, 10 standard 84.6%, 12 standard 83.4%, undergrad 75.2%. So I see a lot of these questions on Quora and a lot of these websites. This is my profile? Can I make it to A, B, C, L, K, I, any IIM, right? So this is my profile, and if I were putting this out there, I'm sure a lot of negatives would be there, or a lot of more empathetic people would perhaps say that you can try your best, but we'll see. So first thing I want to say is don't focus on your profile so much. Look at my profile and maybe try to draw some inspiration from it. Right. After I finished my undergrad in 2015, actually, so it's been 5 years since I've been a graduate. In media and communication, I specialized in filmmaking because back then that's what I wanted to do. It is still one of my biggest passions, and I hope I can get back to it. After college, I took a year off and I traveled all across India. I did not want to start working right away. I wanted to see what's out there in the world. I wanted to see what our beautiful country has to offer in terms of culture, people, landscapes. And so I took a year and I traveled everywhere in India. I think I covered 19 states. And it is probably one of the most life-changing and life-defining experiences I've had so far. Then after that, I had to, like everybody else, I had to get into, put on my shoes where I had to go to work every day. I worked in two companies. First was a startup in the media sector called Flarepath, and the second company I worked for was again a startup backed by a huge group, the Times of India Group. And then this stint lasted for around a little over 2 years, and then for close to a year I actually just did freelance product producing. So I wanted to see what it would be like to take the reins in my own hands, try to get some business, try to develop contacts and networks. And in the process I ended up working with a lot of brilliant companies and people, including Vogue and GQ, Universal Music, and some corporates you might or might not have heard of. But overall it was a fun experience. And then when I was doing this freelance experience, I sort of figured that I may have the domain knowledge in my whatever my strong skill is, which is video producing or filmmaking, but I don't know much about business. And at the end of the day, it comes down to how well you can run a business, or how can you really contribute to a business. And that's when I thought that, okay, we have some brilliant business schools in India. Why don't I try to take the CAT and see if one of them will happy to accept me as a student. And thus I took 6 months off, prepared for the CAT, scored 98.06 percentile. Again, not something you will find in any hoarding of any coaching center, but luckily made it to IIM Ahmedabad. And yeah, I'm here talking about my experiences and my journey so far. Right. So going to the next slide. Okay. So I'd like to jump into. You guys can still see my screen, right? Yeah. So jumping to how my CAT preparation was. Just give me a sec. Right. Cool. So like Manya said before, right before I even prepared for any section or any module, I thought that why don't I give a test and figure out where do I stand. And the results were something like this. So in the VR, I took CAT 2018, one of the slots, and my VRC score was, if I'm not wrong, 78, which was well above 99.5 percentile. My DILR score was not very good, but it was somewhere in the 50 to 60 percentile range. And my quant score was a very, very stimulating 0, right? I didn't know anything. And I only had 6 months to prepare for this and try to make the best of whatever I had. So very early on, I figured out that I have to play by my strengths, and I have to sort of damage the control, control the damage which I have, which I will probably have to deal with in the quantitative section. So to sum it up, in the VRC section, I had to score 99.5 plus, right? So what I did was I essentially made sure I tried to practice it every day. I read as much as possible from things I'm not interested in, more about things which I'm not interested in than the things which I'm interested in, so that if something like that is there in the exam, then it doesn't really stump me. And I couldn't afford to go for a accuracy or an attempt strategy, right? So I had to go for an accuracy or attempt strategy. I made sure I was attempting 34 out of 34 questions in all the mocks, and by the end of my preparation time, I think I was clocking in somewhere around 80 to 85 in my mocks in the VRC section. Again, that is a 300 mark paper, so you guys can normalize it according to that, right? So that was my strength section. I'm sure all of you have your strength sections and you can capitalize on that. Moving on to, I'm sorry, I've done a SWOT analysis, very B-school like, but I hope you'll bear with me. Then what would be my opportunity? I thought my opportunity was DILR because it was not something I was poor in, but it was not something I was great at either. So what that told me was that if I really put in my effort and if I put in the hours, I can maximize my score. So I have had a very interesting curve with DILR. So starting off, like I said, my score was in the 40, 50 percentile range, 60 percentile range, 80 percentile range. And with constant practice of different sets, different kind of questions, different strategies about पहले हम फर्स्ट से 8 जाएंगे, देन हम लोग इजी करेंगे, पहले हम सिर्फ LR करेंगे, फिर हम बाद में सिर्फ DI करेंगे. So I've tried a bunch of strategies, and in the end, the strategy which worked out for me was that I am going to pick the sets which I've done in the past, and now I just have to apply myself to different numbers and different names. So if it was A, B, C, D, E who were trying to place themselves around a circle, in the question I just had to do that for X, Y, Z or K, L, M, N, O, P. And I hope you're trying to understand what I'm trying to say here, right? So familiarity really helps in the ILR section, and that obviously implies that you have to practice as much as possible to really maximize your score. Another very important part about the DILR section is that it's in the middle, right? So a lot of people sort of give up after that section in the exam because they think, oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to really capitalize on this because this section was not good. And I would say that is your opportunity, because that's when you really get ahead of a lot of people who've sort of thought that, okay, this is not gonna work out this year, I'll have to come again this year. So don't be one of those people. Be somebody who gives it your 100% in this section, because I'm telling you, this is your game changer. This is the section which will take you through to that final level and get you those interviews and get you that school which you want to go to. Okay. So yeah, this is key. Then the third section, which I am absolutely terrible at, is quantitative ability. I think in the final scoring, I scored 91.9 percentile, which was obviously my lowest percentile out of the 3 sections. And I realized that there are some sections I'm just not good at. I was not good at geometry. I was not good at permutation and combination, but there was still a silver lining. I was very good at arithmetic. I was very good at numbers, and I was fairly good at algebra. So what I thought I will do is I'm going to focus on depth of a subject over breadth of a subject. So obviously my fundamental or the very easy questions were clear in all the topics, but I wanted to be absolutely certain of some subjects, and especially these were the three which I just said. All the arithmetic questions, that is everything from percentage to time, speed, distance, and then your algebra, obviously, and your number systems. So as per past question papers, this would, if I were sure with these, then I would be able to attempt somewhere around 20 to 22 questions, which again would, I thought would be enough for me to get through and get a score which would help me get a call. So yeah, I focused on a 100% accuracy model for quantitative aptitude, and that is essentially what happened. I could only attend 13 questions because I'm extremely slow in quant, but I got all those 13 questions correct, right? So if you are slow, definitely go for that strategy where you don't stress about, oh my God, I'm missing out on so many questions, but go for a strategy where where you are able to get everything which completely right. Now that's about the knowledge part of it, more or less. Then what is the threat in this, right? The threat is I'm competing with 2.5 lakh people, out of which at least 20,000 of them are better than me in at least two of these three things, right? So what do I do about it? It's a tough question to answer. So I'm just gonna say, don't worry about it. It's not on you to really control that aspect of the exam. You have to go with a mindset where you deliver your best, where you put in your training into practice, and try to see where you land after that, right? So that is what all I have to say with the CAT preparation and how I prepared for CAT. Moving on to the last slide which I have. Right. Cool. So the last slide, I think, this is something I want to talk about, the GD interviews and the WAT part. This is something which is usually, ignored by a lot of people because they think that, okay, we have to focus on CAT, and CAT is the big elephant in the room. So it's fine if we don't talk much about this part. But, like Mr. Agnihotri said, this is actually something which is a selection criteria. A CAT is actually simply an elimination process. So once you get into that interview room or into that group discussion panel, you really have to make a difference. You have to stand out from the rest of the candidates. And how do you do it? And this is in the form of a pyramid. So it sort of goes from the minimum requirement to what you really need to have, or another way to put it would be what most people have to what most people don't have. Awareness of self is extremely important. If you don't know what you are all about, why you are here, what have you done in your career or in your college or in your academics, then it reflects very poorly, because you need to be completely sure of the person you are and why you're sitting in that interview room talking to all those eminent professors and alums, and why should you be a part of that exclusive club. So be sure of yourself. Awareness of your surrounding is nothing but you should know what's happening in the world. It has to do with your industry, it has to do with politics, it has to do with economics, it has to do with culture. Try to read the newspaper, try to talk to people who you think can add value to your thought process and how you analyze things. Because keep one thing in mind, a lot of people know facts, a lot of people have the information, but the question or the differentiating factor is, do you have an opinion which you can give and it adds value to people? Does your opinion make other people see the problem in a different way? And that's what you really need to develop. And that's what I mean when I say you need to have awareness of your surrounding, right? Cool. Then the third thing is articulation and persuasion. So you need to be articulate, and it doesn't happen overnight. So try to practice as much as possible. Try to participate in mock GDs, in mock PIs, and there are some brilliant platforms which facilitate that. So please make use of that and take it as seriously as you would take your CAT preparation, because if not more, this is as important a criteria in you getting that final admit. Practice, practice, practice. So don't just start and leave off. Be as scheduled and systematic in your GDPI and WAT prep as you were for your CAT. I'm sure as you were for your CAT. And in the end, it's something very intangible, but something which makes a huge difference, right? A lot of people practice a lot, but do they have self-belief? Mr. Sharma talked about Djokovic, and he's one of my favorite athletes. Simply because I don't think there is anybody in the world of sports today whose mental strength is as big as his. You could argue that Federer is a better tennis player, or even Nadal is a better tennis player, but I would say that do they have the mental stamina and the mental integrity which Djokovic has? And that is perhaps what makes him world number one today, and really allows him to do what he does. And think of yourself as a Djokovic. Be a Djokovic if you think your skills are not at Federer's level. So what you really need to work at is your mental game, and just persevere through it. Believe in yourself, and I think it will work out in the end eventually. So yeah, that was my very short presentation. I hope I was able to keep you guys engaged. Having said that, I will stop, and if any of you have any questions, more than happy to take them on right
now. Thank you, Sandeep. As expected, you've delivered a great talk. Be a Djokovic if you do not have the strengths of the Federers and the Nadals of the world, and that's a very positive way to look at your own SWOT. A quick question to you, Sandeep. You would have faced many rejections, many naysayers in your journey, and people who have said your profile perhaps is not the profile that would make it to the top school in the country. At that point in time, how did you convince yourself and kept going on practicing?
Thank you for the question, sir. I think it's very simple for me. All the naysayers don't decide if I get an admit to IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore, IIM Calcutta, or any other good college. My efforts and the people who will sit in those panels decide if I get an admit, right? So till I reach that panel, it's all about me. It's not about what the other people are saying. So you need to be 100% sure of what you want to achieve, and you need to focus on that. Set your goals, be organized. I was extremely disciplined in my approach. So if I'm putting in 6, 7, 8 hours a day, then at the end of it, it doesn't matter if somebody else thinks that is not good enough. It might not be good enough for them, but I was sure that it will take me somewhere. So keep your eyes on the goal. Don't entertain any kind of negative energy. And always remember, the people who are saying that you won't make it, they are not the ones deciding. They are just, that's just noise. So don't focus on the noise, focus on your